Morning, everybody. Thanks for joining me as we take a look at your work week forecast for February 26th through March 1st as we round out February and start to head towards spring. It's going to feel like that this week, probably next week as well, if the long-term pattern holds up at all. We're definitely starting March off like a lamb, not in like a lion. We'll have to see if that holds throughout the month. But yeah, certainly looking to warm up this week, although we are going to be on a bit of a temperature roller coaster ride as well. We will have one pretty cold day still this week, much like Saturday was cold, and then it's kind of warmed up pretty significantly since then. But we will have one of those days. And some interesting weather in the middle of the week. So some stuff to pay attention to, even in the midst of what's generally overall a warmer pattern. Okay, we had a little bit of a very weak frontal system kind of push through overnight, brought a few flurries and snow showers, saw dusting of snow, at least here in South London area. I would imagine a lot of other places saw that as well. That will completely melt away by this afternoon, as what's happening here is, even though this is a bit of a cold front, it's actually sort of lifting north, so it's sort of acting as a warm front, and the flow is going to turn to the southwest over the next couple of days, and that's really going to push the warmth in some today and really tomorrow and Wednesday before all of this kind of mess out west consolidates into a pretty good front that's going to swing through with some heavier, with first some kind of showers on the day Wednesday, and then Wednesday evening with a front that could bring even some thunderstorms, I think, and could bring a pretty good quick turnover from rain to snow, rapidly falling temperatures, maybe a bit of a flash freeze. Wednesday night, especially later in the evening, could be tricky. We'll have to keep an eye out for that, and also we're going to have to keep a bit of an eye out for how gusty some of the winds get. Are we going to see a few power outages and things like that? So there is definitely some weather going on. Here's what's going on across the country. You kind of see, you're like, ooh, this front's going to swing through and reinforce the colder air that's been sort of in here, except that's not happening. These fronts are actually kind of lifting southwest to northeast, and so they're never really going to get here, and instead we are getting kind of the southwest flow that's out ahead of the front, and that's going to warm us up kind of consistently through the week. We can kind of see why this is happening if we look at, this is the jet stream level precipitation, and not always is it this easy to see, but you can definitely see that there are two jet streams currently. We have a southern jet stream and a northern jet stream, and you can see them even on the map. Sometimes you have to kind of draw these in and kind of be a little bit more subtle with them, but on this map here, this is the colors are wind speeds. You can definitely see where these two rivers of air are moving, and one thing that you can see here is that the southern jet stream is significantly larger and has higher winds, with the exception of this jet streak south of Alaska, but than anything in the northern jet stream. And so what's happening is here, that southwest flow in the southern jet stream is kind of overwhelming what's actually some cold air across northern Canada here, pushing it further north. That ridge is going to be reinforced by all this warm Pacific, relatively warm, not like hot, but relatively warm Pacific moisture pushing in across the central part of the country, building a ridge across the eastern two-thirds of the country and allowing southwest flow at the surface to be pushed into New England. And what that means is temperatures will rapidly rise. Some of this is already happening today. It'll happen more tomorrow and Wednesday ahead of the storm that rolls through and the front that rolls through on Wednesday. So what does that look like in terms of on the surface? You can see that's definitely happening. If you look at the wind basically parallels these what are called isobars here, essentially. So, or actually at the surface, it's a little, essentially we're getting south and southwest winds and flow. The flow is from the southwest today. So that is what's causing our temperatures to rise as we go through. And this front here is not ever really going to make its way through. It's this storm here and then a lot of that energy from the southern jet stream that's going to combine together to create a big storm across the central part of the country and really a vigorous front that moves through later on in the week. That's going to give us our impactful weather. When that happens, we definitely have a chance of some gusty winds. Right now, we'll probably have a forecast out on that storm probably on Wednesday morning, maybe when we get close enough to know, are we actually going to get some thunderstorms or things like that out of it, and some of the details in terms of what exactly is going to happen. How much we could get an inch or so of kind of snow on the quick changeover as the front moves through. After we get some rumbles of thunder, we could then change to snow, and also just how big of a deal the flash freeze is going to be on Wednesday night. Right now, I would say probably later in the evening, anytime after 8, 9 o'clock on Wednesday, although timing could definitely change. But right now, it looks like after 8, 9 o'clock, you're going to want to give some time for road crews to get out there and deal with what will probably be very slippery conditions for a bit. And we'll have to keep an eye on how long that lingers into Thursday morning. Sometimes those flash freezes can mean that, like, especially sidewalks and things that don't get treated can be very slippery the next day because you kind of have a little bit of standing water from the rain that happens on Wednesday that gets left over. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that as we go. Let's take a look at those temperatures. You can even just see how the temperatures are starting to spike up. These 60s are kind of moving up just west of the Appalachians, and they don't make it quite as far. It's not as easy for them to kind of cross the Appalachians, but they are going to continue to move in our direction. We're not going to see any 60s, but 50s, not today, 40s today, but 50s definitely tomorrow. Let's take a look at the actual forecast. So today we started off chilly. With some of those snow showers, with some clouds this morning. We will get sunny this afternoon, and tomorrow morning we will start sunny as well before we cloud up in front of the actual storm. Temperatures today in the middle 40s. The SAP will run really well today. Tomorrow it should run pretty good as well because we will cool off because it's kind of dry tonight. One dry night with a little bubble of high pressure today before we start to really cloud up as the big system approaches us. So Tuesday looks basically dry and sunny in the morning. Clouds come in the afternoon as the storm, some of the southwest flow starts to push some moisture in our direction. I think anytime after about 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, we could see a few sprinkles. But this first part of the rain here should be widely scattered. It could briefly be heavy, but it's going to be showery in nature. There's a lot of raindrops here on Wednesday morning. Not a lot of that is going to be, it's not going to rain the whole morning though. We're looking, and it's not going to be a tremendous amount of rain during that time, maybe a tenth or two of an inch during that time. And then we get a relatively brief but very strong front that comes through. It will rain very heavy, probably for half an hour or so. You might get, a quarter or a half an inch of rain in half an hour, maybe even a little bit more in a few spots. And then a little bit of snow on the backside. I didn't put the graphic in. There's really not enough space to put all the graphics, but a little bit of snow on the backside. It'll be windy, probably wind gusts to 40, 45 miles an hour, maybe some 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts, especially if we get any thunder, if there's a little bit more convection. Again, we're going to have to wait and see kind of on that. Wednesday morning, I'll probably have, like I said, I'll have a forecast out to kind of talk about the details of that. But and so that'll happen. Flash freeze, it gets, and right now the timing on the front, which has moved quite a bit on the model, so I wouldn't lock this in yet, but right now timing on the front looks somewhere between like 6 and 9 o'clock in the evening. And later would be better because it's nice if this kind of happens overnight and the roads get icy, but then crews can get out early in the morning on Thursday, basically put some salt down and deal with them. If it happens earlier, it could mean that some of those evening travel, you have to be careful about evening travel. Thursday will be breezy and cold. Look at that. We're back down in the mid-20s. It's going to feel like winter for one day before we start another warm-up that might even be more significant than this warm-up on Friday. Starts in the 40s on Friday, but as we go forward, it will look even warmer as we head towards the weekend. And that warm-up looks to last through a lot of next week. So we basically look like we're in a pretty warm pattern going forward for the next couple of weeks. So we're just going to have to kind of navigate that. Like I said, we'll have to keep watch out. I would say right now, I would guess that there will be at least a couple of power outages. There's the potential for a little bit more wide scattered of that, or that maybe this comes through and is not quite as convective and that it's not that big of a deal. So we'll have to, like I said, Wednesday morning, I should have an update on this for you that'll kind of give you the details on that. Let's take a look at the highlights as we go. A bit of a roller coaster temperature-wise this week. A strong front moves through Wednesday evening with gusty winds and a few rumbles of thunder. We will have to watch for the possibility of a few power outages Wednesday evening. Precipitation changes from rain to snow as the front passes, causing a flash freeze and hazardous travel. The timing on when exactly that happens will matter for Wednesday evening. Does it happen a little earlier? Does the front move through a little earlier? Or does it move through a little later? And it's not as big a deal because it happens overnight. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Like I said, and then after a cold Thursday, we will warm up again for the weekend and probably beyond. So yeah, that's kind of what things are looking like. It should be a good, tomorrow's a great day to get outside. If you're looking for a day to get outside and feel a little bit of the warmth, go for a walk tomorrow, that kind of thing. Skiing, it'll be like spring skiing, but skiing should be pretty good tomorrow. Thursday will be a bit tough because even though it'll be cold and kind of feel like winter, we'll be kind of hard frozen from the night before. But yeah, overall, winter seems to be losing its grip at least a little bit on the Northeast. Of course, we are still March 1st. There's a lot of winter to go in southern Vermont potentially, so you never know. We could get a kind of flip-floppy March where we have kind of an early feel where it's relatively spring-like early in March and we go back into the deep freeze for the second half. That may happen, may not too. The way this winter's gone, we might just sort of end up with not a lot of snow in March. Hard to tell beyond the next couple of weeks, but nothing snowy in the next couple of weeks. So if you're looking for snow, that's sort of been the story all winter. Sorry about that. I do want to give a quick shout out to my patrons. They help support what I do here at the West River Weather Guy. If you haven't, if you're interested in what some of the advantages, some of the things that you can get from being a patron, you can check out the link in the description below. Also, if you haven't subscribed on the YouTube channel before, I would encourage you to do so. Helps make sure you don't miss any of my videos. Thank you for supporting the channel. I'll be back Wednesday with an updated look at our Wednesday night and Thursday front passage and storm.